Um, Being a grocery retailer, all my life I've done is reduce cost month on month. Now Anish is asking us to reduce the time. We had 45 minutes, now it's down to 30. We have 7 people, so do the math. The topic we have today is, I'll read the topic as it is, it's on your agenda list. How it makes a difference when the leader walks the tech talk. It is almost like insulting the CEO even to his face, that he doesn't know what he's saying. In short, what we are supposed to talk about is walk the talk. But I want to change the topic around. Let's talk the walk. The people who walk the talk are people who talk more than what they have walked. So maybe politicians do a lot of talk first and don't do much of the walk. Let's only talk about today all the things that you walked, and let's talk about all the things that you have walked. So let's talk the walk, okay? So it almost feels as if the topic, it feels as if there is some inherent acquisition that non-tech CEOs don't understand technology very well, and therefore they build a strategy without putting a technology into place which actually delivers some of that strategy through the technology to the people and to the consumer. That really is a problem that we have to face. We all know that it exists. There is a gap between what we say and the experience that we actually build on the ground. The reality in retail is that it is always that the lowest paid and the lowest grade person deals with your most important person in your business, which is the consumer, right? So in your shops, when you serve the thick shakes out, you don't know how well the guy behind the counter has made it while he's giving it to the consumer. And this guy is maybe on a temporary minimum wage basis, and you are entrusting all your strategy to this guy to actually deliver. So that is some of the problems that I think technology has to look at and resolve. We don't have Anupam here, do we? Anupam, please. The chair is waiting for you. So we're going to take up the topic in a particular way. There are 3 parts to this whole topic. You can take up one at a time. Whatever we can cover, we will cover. What is the strategy that you have for your customer that you have resolved with technology? You may want to do something for your customer. And how have you in your own businesses, all of you are from different businesses, it'll be a good idea hearing 1 or 2 of the bright things that you have been able to do in your business which resolve a customer problem. So what you're thinking and what you have actually done. It is, it should go beyond the normal. It has to be something exceptional or something really good that you have done. The other one is, what have you done for your staff in the store to make their life more simple? Don't tell me it is a biometric attendance system. We need to go a little beyond that. So let's make it a little more exciting. If you don't have anything in that area, I certainly hope you have something to tell us about what you have done for your suppliers who actually supply to you, your vendors who do business with you. So there are 3 aspects. So you can talk about any one of them or any 2 of them. So, Anupam, you want to go first? You brought your own mic? Or?
I think I'm just putting my phone away. So I think it's a very interesting question. And as a brand, especially coming from old mindset where technology was important, but I think in today's time, it has become extra important. And I think using technology for a lot of job which can be done faster, the penetration has to be faster. And I think as a management, we are really focusing on it and doing. There are n number of things actually technology can do, like we said, from a biometric to anything. We feel that technology should become part of the DNA and it should become part of the ecosystem. Talking about the customer, I think gone are the days when we were talking about POS, but today, how do you make a data more relevant to him for the salesman to recognize the customer faster and to make sure the product, what he's wanting, the merchandise mix changes as per the sales data, and eventually the store keeps on evolving. And further leveraging it to the online sales to take the live inventory, going up to the web so that the localized system can operate and e-commerce platforms get opened to the brick and mortar stores which were running independently, and how do you integrate them? And I think the team is really focusing on making that work. Clearly, we have two different CRM systems, one for online and one for offline, and how we integrate so that the customer knows whether we have bought online or offline. The company knows about it, and the journey is tracked, whether it is a shift, whether it is a contrast, it's a different consumer, it's the same consumer, so far and so forth. And how does our system talk back to our main system, which is the ERP, and help us to take decision faster? You know, there were times when data was coming, it was taking almost like months to sometime analyze to make a meaningful outcome out of it, to change the production plan, which is further complex. How we are able to import that data, and in hours or in, I would say, a single day, if the production plan at the factory level can change, and reducing the time span with technology is the optimization we are working upon. Earlier, we were running almost a month delayed, and now I think we have the capacity to change our plans over a few days, which is about 3-4. So I think that's...
Anupam, let me ask you a question as a customer. Are you able to hear me? Okay. The biggest problem, you run one of the most successful independent shoe stores, right? Which is Liberty Shoes. The big problem, so you have an e-commerce site?
Yes, we do have.
The biggest problem that consumers face while buying a shoe is that whether it'll fit me, right?
True.
Do you have a technology that sitting at home I can maybe scan my foot and upload it, that you will tell me what my right fit is?
To be very honest, no. Have I experienced this technology? Yes. I still feel, looking at the volume we are handling today, we still need to take time to really still say whether the shoe fits well. To bring that data across, you know, the challenge is the foot types are not constant. So it is not just the shoe length. It is about the last, which is a more complex process than what it is. And a lot of time you would also see even the shoe doesn't fit well because they want to look good, they want to buy a particular size. So I think there are a lot of dependencies, and we always need to review the cost of technology versus the output it can generate, and implement the technology at the right time rather than just be the early absorber of the technology, create unrealistic experience for the customer, and then you have to scrap it because it is not functioning the way it is. So as a brand, we have been early adopters, but at this point of time, I feel we should not blindly take too many technologies and try to bring everything to enhance customer experience. And I think in totality, it can become a worse customer experience is what I feel.
Yeah, you're right. But you know, if you look at Google Lens, it does almost a 99% accurate search. If you scan a flower, it'll tell you what that flower is, it'll tell you the genealogy of the flower, it'll tell you everything about the flower. So I think that maybe one of the things that as a customer we want to see. But I've shopped at Liberty stores, and it's really fascinating, very good designs we see all the time. I'll come back to you. Yeshwanth, you run the ThickShake factory, right? So would you like to tell us what technology you use to make sure that the recipe is consistent across all the stores?
So the ThickShake factory has about 100 outlets today, pan-India. It is a standardized model. So we at the manufacturing end, obviously the raw materials are manufactured, so it is scalable. And during the supply chain use case where we use technology, because obviously we have to send ice creams at -18, we use a lot of IoT tracking devices, which will track the temperature of the of the cold chain as we are having, as it's being transported. And whenever the temperature is being dipped or increasing, we get a notification. That is one simple use case. In the last 3-4 years, there's been a lot of disruption in my industry, in the F&B industry, as Swiggy and Zomato has come. What has happened 10 years back in e-commerce is now happening in the food and beverages industry. Offline is getting converted to online. So as a brand, the consumer data, first of all, is missing from a brand's perspective because the marketplaces control the technology, the data in the first place. So that has been a big problem for a lot of brands, including us. So what we are doing it is that, obviously there is a D2C platform as well, wherein, but what we are using is that we are using a WhatsApp first approach because we think that, a website are like a little old now. Most of the people below 30 years, they prefer WhatsApp first. So we are positioning our entire e-commerce strategy around WhatsApp, wherein everything is integrated within WhatsApp. So that is one aspect of it. And even for understanding the consumer reviews, so we have a single dashboard which we have customized ourselves, wherein all the platforms reviews are on a single dashboard so that we know what is missing where. And we also started a new company last year. I mean, it's not in this, but it's called TDSF Cloud One. So we are a house of brands for the F&B industry. So, we are trying to organize the F&B space as the GMV is of the online food market is growing from 4 billion today. It is expected to become 20 billion by 2026. So there's a huge explosion going on. So in this aspect, we use a lot of technology essentially to grow the brands that we acquire or grow the brands that we take franchise out because we run only digital first brands. So ThickShake Factory, yes, we have like 100 physical stores, but we believe that there is a lot more growth opportunity online, of course, with an omni-channel. I mean, there is no replacing the physical at any point of time.
But just basically, you do scratch cooking you make the product in your shops, right?
Yes, we make it then and there, but the raw materials are manufactured in a factory. Like these are ice cream shakes, so we make our own ice cream. That's how we tightly control.
Do you use any technology to make sure that the guy who's making it is making it right?
Yeah, totally. So in fact, we work with Vitamix. Apart from after Starbucks, we are actually the second highest purchaser of Vitamix blenders in India. So we have actually closely worked with them, not even now, like from last 3-4 years. So we have integrated all our recipes in the machine itself so that all my guy has to do is just press 1, 2, and 3. Because as you rightly said, the guy who's earning 10,000 or 12,000 on the ground, we cannot rely on him to, implement our grandiose visions and dreams. It is very difficult for him to even communicate with anybody. So we try to ensure a system in place where we don't depend on them at all, but it is easier said than done.
Do you have any mystery shopper data or you have customer feedback which says, this is not tasting like what I tasted last time?
Absolutely. So, so today, it has unfortunately or fortunately become more easy to capture feedback online than offline. Even if a consumer is in a store, he's less inclined to give a feedback to the person in front of you. Rather, he would go on Zomato or Swiggy and write a lasting review, right? So that is how the psyche is becoming, whether it is fortunate or unfortunate. So we do track this on a single dashboard because for us, there are like 5 or 6 different sources, the Google, Swiggy, Zomato, and also our own website. So we have to ensure that all these come to a single platform. Then we have to see whether a lot of times consumer there are fake reviews as well. So we don't know whether our guy is making a mistake or a consumer is making a mistake. So I was just meeting a video tracking company right outside. So we were discussing a use case wherein we can actually, like every food order that is sent out, if at all we are able to capture the picture of it before we give it to the delivery boy, we would be able to at least tell whether the review is correct or wrong. Consumers say we have ordered 3 burgers, but there's only 1 burger coming. So I don't know whether it's my guy's mistake or it's a consumer's fake review. I genuinely don't know. So at least there has to be, technology is there. People use technology in aviation. Food is a very small thing, right? So we just have to use those in the business is what we feel, rather than inventing the wheel. That's
yeah, absolutely. It just brings out very clearly the difficulty we have in applying technology to the last mile. That really is an issue because if something is missing, you will never know as to where it has gone. Like customer is bluffing or, the guy really genuinely made a mistake. Manoj, we're moving from shakes to what ladies wear when they go out to shake a leg. Anita, Dongre's dresses. And my wife always believes that one day it'll become cheaper for her to buy, but it's fantastic design and really wonderful outlets. Have you been able to use technology effectively in any 3 parts of what I described to make life easier, better,
So it's the technology what we have used is the same thing old which all the retailers use. So customer comes to the store and they like the product, but a particular size or particular color is not available. So we have provided them a tab where they can buy it, they can book it on there, and by the time they book it and the product gets delivered to their home. So this is one particular technology because we don't want any loss of sale. The customer coming to my store and because of color and size is going away and going to some other store for different brands. So to avoid that loss of sale, we have done this, provided this kind of a technology.
You are online as well, I know.
Yeah, we have online.
But do you have problems of returns because of size or color or?
Not for color, but yes, for size. It happens.
For size, yeah.
If it's a new customer, if it's a regular customer, the size problem is not there because they have tried that particular product.
So that is certainly a problem to solve. Yeah. Is there something that you give to your store staff, because there must be a design element that is there in everything that is sold in the store, which will be good if the store people can talk about it. So is there something that they can read up?
Yes, so we have provided a mobile app where periodically the training is being given to them, which particular new design, particular style, particular product details about the fabric, color, and regular training and periodical, even the test has been taken, how much they have understood about the product. And so the app is given to them, and regularly we check also how many of them gone through it, and we award them, we appreciate them, and that's what helps them to sell more and help the customer in terms of telling what type of product and how will it fit them, and all those kind of training is being provided to the mobile app.
I don't know much about lifestyle products, but I know grocery. I had gone to the Whole Foods store in the US a few weeks ago, and there was something in the leafy section. I'd never seen it before, but there was a QR code. So when you scan it, it actually gave an entire history of that product. And it is something, it's a new superfood. They spoke about it. They also gave the photograph of the farmer who cultivated it, from where it has come, the photograph of the farmer. It's a link, so you can click and takes you to YouTube and gives you everything about it. And that'll be lovely if you go to Anita Dongre's shop, you scan a particular dress, you get to know everything you want to know about that dress, how she fashioned it, what it is fashioned around. I think that'll be fantastic value add if it is possible.
We're working on it. Actually, POC is going on for that.
Sure. Anil, you're going to be the biggest disruptor. By the way, Anil is from LuLu. The Dubai Strongman's stores are now in UP. They are in Kerala, taking things by storm. The LuLu store in Cochin is worth seeing, and it has been listed by the TripAdvisor as the 10 most wanted destinations to visit. Imagine you come from somewhere else and they tell you to go and visit a supermarket. That's really kudos to the store it is. You're really disrupting all over, right? So please tell us, and you're the IT head. So tell us what you're doing with technology.
Thanks, Radha. Good to listen, first of all, someone talking about EX in a CX world, right? That's good. From an LuLu perspective, the brand is what it is right now. But so is the expectation going high. Now that's a different scale which we have to now start matching.
In your UP opening, you had 150,000 people before the store opened, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Close to that.
You must use technology to control that crowd, I'm sure.
It's more from a technology perspective. You'll have to look at it from an employee perspective also, right? While technology can build what it can build, right? If you walk into a LuLu mall and on that day, you may have a large chunk of people carrying 2 phones. Now, how do you provide network to all these people? Now, how do you make sure that they are being told that because of such a crowd, your networks are not there in the mall, right? That's a different element that technology can't speak about right now. That a user, an employee can go and have a conversation with the customer, saying that, so because of such a big crowd, so and so happened. Well, when you come in next time, I'll I better give you a better
Has
service.
LuLu gone online yet?
Yeah, we are online. We are online in Kerala a big time. We are doing good there. So our take is be where the customer is, which is largely the element across retailers, right? Where the customer is. While we are prominent in Kerala, we have been moving out of Kerala, Bangalore, and Lucknow coming up, and so on and so forth. More coming up. What happens to us is now, while we are expanding in such a phase, there's a lot of internal cultural changes. Your employees are then put into a upskill mode kind of thing to understand you're sitting on large data. How do you make use of this data now, right? While you put in technologies, you can put in a technology of BI, AI, so on and so forth, which we are doing on a larger basis. But how are you going to implement this when the output is out from that particular platforms, right? That's something which we are very, very rigorously working around with the employees. As you said, if my employee or my resource or my partner understands what power he's got in his hands, he can do wonders out there. Now, to do that, we'll actually have to pump in a lot of, or crunch in and pump in a lot of data at his footprints, right? Or his hands, or wherever, however it is. That's one aspect which you're working on heavily. Yeah. Upskilling employees?
Yeah. I was in a LuLu store in Dubai about 4 days ago, and it's a really fascinating store. But you know, Dubai is 3.5 million people. That's about the size of Andheri West. You know, on a Sunday, the store in Trivandrum was like unbelievable. I mean, so is technology choking with this kind of crowd? Because, you know, you can't expect this kind of a crowd in Dubai. So what's happening to the technology there?
Perfect. See, we are working on a lot of scalability. Scalability is the key now, right? While, as you correctly said, Dubai is a place. A GCC, you have 8 countries, 9 countries. Here, every city is a country by itself. Trivandrum doesn't behave like Kochi. Kochi doesn't behave like Bangalore. Bangalore doesn't behave like Lucknow, right? You're sitting 4 or 5 cities, and all of them are behaving very different, right? And India, that's the dynamism which we are working on. That brings in scalability a lot. Also, this is getting us a lot of information on the customer behaviors at each location. So we are transforming ourselves every day, every hour, to make sure that this customer, in whichever form he is, or him or her is, are catered to in the best possible manner. Personalization, I will not rework on that word, called personalization, but try to just to understand your customers right away as we expand.
Anyway, look forward to LuLu being there everywhere. I think it will certainly expand this market. We have Vinodh Ramakannan, who runs an independent, who runs a digital marketing agency. And so your area is where the maximum flux is, right? Things are changing at a phenomenal pace. We have now ONDC also, which will come. That is going to change the way people are going to discover product on the net. And therefore, what is it that you're doing as a CEO looking at strategy in your business that you're adapting technologically to the consumer or to your stakeholders?
So we've always been technology-driven agency. So if you think about marketing today, everything is driven through technology from the point of data, which is very important. So today you have multiple points, multiple data points. Customers are expecting a lot of things to be personalized to them. Today the customer is the king and they have multiple choices, and you really need to understand your customer before you would be able to kind of create communication or strategies for them. So unless you understand your customer, unless you know who they are, what they want, and be very relevant to them, it is very difficult for us to keep that engagement level and that emotional connect with the customer. So that's why we use a lot of marketing technologies. As you saw even the previous session from MessageBird, so we use technologies like that as well to always be on the top of the mind of the customer and to make sure that we have certain data points. On top of it, we also develop technologies for our clients where we are into more into data analytics and BI, and as well as certain AI solutions. So today, if you see, as I said, like the consumer, technology has helped some of our customers even reduce things like, return to origins, like, in terms of the number of returns that they get. Because when you kind of have an app, like you were explaining before, right? Like something that can actually help them to understand what they need better, or some sort of an app where they can have a custom fit application, right? So that way, they would be very sure on what that size is, or what that kind of color is one thing. And so that actually helps them to, because bulk of the return happens because they either don't like the size, or they don't like the color, or they are not sure of what they got. So I think technology can play a really good role in terms of, especially for D2C brands as well, where they are trying to increase their, decrease their RTOs, increase their customer acquisition, make it more interesting and engaging for the audience as well.
So let me ask you a question pointedly. In the companies you work with, is there a difference between what the CEO is saying and what's on the ground?
Definitely, yeah, because sometimes what happens when even if it's a brand manager, if you're talking to them, it's very difficult for them to understand what the CEO would understand. So it definitely there's a huge gap. And I think, as you pointed out rightly, it's very important to drive it from top down and to make sure that each and every person in the organization is understanding why this technology is involved. And again, another point is like many people are change is something that people don't like, right? So they, especially the people in the lower end, so they're always scared of their jobs getting obsolete and technology taking over their jobs, making them more redundant. So it's important to have them inclusive and kind of have certain sessions and things like that to make them understand why and how technology is going to actually enhance them as well. They're just going to become better and better. Like more and more the manual processes can be handled by technology, or make it more efficient. Then the people who are working on those manual processes can upskill themselves. So I think that kind of sessions are important.
Yeah, Vinodh, you're the most expensive part of my P&L. The customer acquisition is the most expensive. We spend all our money there. Sometimes the spend is almost equal to the sales. So you'll have to find a way of helping us there.
Sure.
Right? So Sreekanth, Shopper Stop. One of the earliest companies which adopted good practices in retail, like category management, has that all been whitewashed by technology, or have you converted some of that good thinking that Shopper Stop did in the early years into technological connect with the consumer to the store?
No, a lot. There has been a lot of learnings. I think what we realized is, I think what is important is that over the last 30 odd years, that's Shopper Stop's inception, is so much of brand equity which has been created. So for us, it was more important to understand, leverage on your core assets, drive incremental value without necessarily driving incremental cost. So as that statement itself, which means that it's important for us to identify what our core assets are. And coming back to that original question you had, customers and what we did for our teams in the stores, on the floor, as well as suppliers. So I'll try to answer the first two bits. So I think from a customer standpoint, what became very clear was, how do I drive more assortment, provide a better offering, and drive better CX, better experience? And that's when the point comes in that, what are those core assets? For us, the core assets is going to be our store network. It's going to be all those brand partnerships, relationships we have. It's going to be all that merchandise. It's going to be our people who are there in the stores. So how do we build on that relationship? And that's when what became fundamental for us was to drive a scalable, but a sustainable and eventually a profitable business. So along with these three terms is where we realized that, okay, we need to establish something like a single view of inventory, a single view of customer. If we can get these two ingredients right, everything else can develop.
Do you frequently struggle with matching the vision of the CEO with the technology that's possible?
No, I think our CEO is pretty good. So
is he here, or is he somewhere here in the crowd?
He should be coming in. I've got a few colleagues of mine here, though.
Yeah, that's okay. So they'll actually rat on you.
No, having said that, I think as an organization, Shopper Stop has always been a very progressive organization. I think a lot of people will agree on that, because we have been one of those first organizations to adopt, let's say, a full-scale ERP implementation back in the day when ERP was a very new thing. So there have been so many such new revolutionary practices which was initiated by Shopper Stop. So I think that pedigree and that reputation is something which we always try to attempt to continue. So with that said, it's a very progressive looking let's say management, board, people, everybody. So having said that, I think what becomes very important and what we've been doing over the last 12 to 18 months is the fact that e-commerce business, which used to be, and this is in public domain, I can share, what used to be less than 1% of the group sales is now around 7 to 8% in literally a year's time. Of course, pandemic played a big role there. But then now that we are looking at pre-pandemic levels of recovery, and that's what the Q1 results say for literally all the organizations, we're still seeing online continues to remain stable and continues to grow. So all of that has happened once we started looking into, let's not reinvent the wheel on certain areas like fulfillment, on inventory. We don't work on dedicated inventory, right? We look into what is already out there. So how do we further evangelize on that? And then customer experience comes down to how do we use a hub and spoke model within our stores itself. We've got 100 odd locations within the country. So some of the algorithms like availability of inventory, proximity to the customer, those are some of the things which not only helps drive better customer experience, but has a much better impact from a bottom line perspective as well.
Sure. Thanks. And I will tell Venu that you were very good to him and you didn't throw anything at him. The only thing my MarTech guys keep telling me is either I'm too old of a different generation or you're too early for your times. The guy says there's nothing I say he's able to do. So I think I need to have a look at who the guy is. So, Shivi Singh, ClearDekho.
Yes.
I think this is something that we all have to do. We don't know how, whether we're looking clearly or not, right? So please tell us what you do, and you've got 2 minutes, and in the next chair is somebody who have not met yet on the panel, so you'll have to introduce yourself later. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Shivi Singh.
So we provide eyeglasses to the blue-collar workforce. There is no standardized experience in villages, rural areas. The entire industry is quite traditional in nature, so we try to standardize it and provide a custom solution which is affordable as well as easy to experience. So what happens in eyewear and optical industry, it is very complicated business and a shopping experience for a consumer. So when a consumer enters a store with eye problem, he doesn't know what he's going to pay and what kind of product he's going to get when he shops out. So what we try to do is we try to make few buckets. So because we are into blue collar workforce, we are into small mass market play. So there is no marketing gimmick with them, okay? Either you give value for money experience to them or go to hell. They don't care about the products, okay, or service. So what we try to do is that within their budget and within so much of complexity of prescriptions, we try to bundle out packages for $499, $799, $999, that's it. So we try to give as much as better experience through these simple buckets. So we want the shopping experience to be a 3-step process. You come, get your eyes tested, get your glasses and go. So we are building that young as of now, but that is where the thought process is.
Pretty good, very good. Yes, sir, you'll have to introduce yourself.
Very good evenings. Apologies, I joined a little late. Vishal from Marks & Spencer. I work there as a CTO. That's about me.
So, sorry, I think you may have missed the first part of the introduction. What we wanted to hear was what you have done technologically to make the vision, the strategy of the company. Has it translated fully into technology, or is there always a gap between what the strategy and the vision is and the technology on the ground? And does it make sense for the CEO to walk the talk? That was really the question.
Okay, so first thing, I made it very clear to people around me and even including the board members that technology agenda sits with me, not with anyone else. So nobody get a chance to define what tool and product I should buy, okay? Because what happens is that in many companies, they don't have an idea who owns the technology agenda. So it's the responsibility of CIO or a CTO to make it very clear to the audience that this responsibility sits with him or her, okay? That's number one. The second thing is, which is very important for this role, is to understand the company, what company is trying to do next 3 years, 1 year, short term and long term. if you do not understand that and what problems you are trying to solve in the market, if you do not understand that, then the choices that you make on the product selection, the kind of people you need to hire, the capabilities and the assets that you need to build is going to go wrong. The budgets that you ask is going to get wrong. So to connect all of that and then to communicate with the wider audience, that's the responsibility. That's what I did. And that's what I continue to do. So if I have implemented an order management system, which I inherited as a decision when I joined at M&S, somebody made in some another country, they said, this is good for you in India. And a few months down the line, we realized that it's a wrong decision. It took me just few days to get rid of it and convince a lot of people to invest close to $2 million to go for another solution. And that $2 million investment today, if you look at our e-com revenues, it's more than 20%. So what happens is, if the agenda is with you, you define what should be the end goal, and you define the vision, and you do not let somebody dictate, but you need to collaborate with a lot of colleagues. I think that, so the question is that what I do in technology, I have more than 70 plus applications today, more than 400 APIs, but it can be 200, whatever, it doesn't matter to anyone.
Yeah, I think the CIO of Apple would have get fired if he had said what you had said, because Steve Jobs is not going to agree to the CIO being the limiting path to vision. So, but I agree with you. I mean, you have to set the expectations right in the CEO's head so that he doesn't tell you things that can't be done. And therefore, there is a gap between what he says and what is being actually done on the ground. But you've actually raised a good point for the next debate, which is to say that can the CIO be the limiting path to growth and vision? So, Anish, I have not saved much time, but I think that's the justice that we have to do to the panel. So we don't have time for any questions unless somebody is dying to ask a question. I think all the people are shaking their head, so there's obviously no more time. Sure. Can do the first part of what I said. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. All I can say is that there is consensus amongst everybody on this panel that there is a gap between what the CEO is thinking and what's happening on the ground. A lot of work needs to be done. But at the same time, the CIO cannot dictate the vision of the company. Thank you very much.